Hey everybody, it's Mike over here at Growtopia, and I have a special one for everybody today. So have you ever noticed you go out there, you look at your cucumber and your zucchini and your squash leaves, and they got this like white powder on them, like they were too close to somebody using a little bit too much baby powder? Well, that's a fungus that grows on them. And the way you get that is by them being too wet, too moist, and humid weather. Well, there's no way of really going around it other than coating it, and I think, don't quote me on it, but I think it's neem oil or even this mix that I'm going to be making today. But you could do kale and clay. I'm not sure exactly where to get it offhand. You can jump over to the gardening channel with James Pidgeoni. He will show you the clay. Mix it in water and you spray it on. You could put that on a lot of things. It keeps the bugs away and stuff and doesn't harm the plant and doesn't harm the fruit production. It's an extra step of measure. I'm even thinking about doing that next season because I'm getting really tired of bugs eating my shit. And currently been having that going on with my radishes. My leaves out there are starting to look like Swiss cheese. So maybe some kale and clay wouldn't have been a bad idea. So anyway, if you have plants that are infected with this fungus that's on it, the best thing to do when you can catch it ahead of time is either one, you treat it, or two, you remove it. Do not put the clippings in your compost pile. Throw them away with your household garbage because you don't want that fungus to now go into your compost, and then that fungus is going to fester inside that soil that it's being made in there, and then you take that lovely fresh soil out and you stick it in your garden, and who knows what else might come out of the ground. So the stuff that we're making is basically the way of combating it. I'm going to show you guys this step by step, and it's going to be in a two-part video because I'm only doing this by my cell phone, so I can't connect my videos together. I've yet to figure that out. Still in the dinosaur age. So first thing you want to do is you could start off with a blender. You don't have to have a blender. You could use just an egg beater. You could use anything. You could use it yourself. You could put it in a container. You could shake it, make sure the lid's closed so it doesn't spray all over your kitchen. I prefer using the blender because it mixes everything together and there's a lot less steps involved. So the first thing we're going to do is, starting off with our blender, is we're going to take a measuring cup that I horribly can't figure out how to use a sponge apparently. Now I've never done this before. I watched a video on YouTube about it. And as soon as I first started seeing the white powder, I started getting nervous. I was thinking it was from the lanternfly bugs. No, luckily it's not. It's a fungus. Now the problem is if you don't treat it, because if you touch it, you notice it's kind of powdery, it will get up into the air and it will find another set of your plants to land on and then propagate. And basically what this is to do is to change the pH level on top of those leaves of those plants, and supposedly it removes it in 24 hours. It's going to be interesting. So you need a spray bottle application. I had this one laying around that I had bought a while ago. I don't know how much this cost. Probably was a pretty penny. But I had bought this for something before, and it's heavy duty pro spray bottle, chemical resistant. So being I had a spray bottle laying around, I might as well use it. So first thing we're going to start off with is just regular milk. This is a really cheap ingredient that you're going to be using. I'm going to move this to the side because you don't even need to see that anymore. Now you're really curious about just the measurements. That's what I'm more interested in. And it takes a while sometimes to find what the measurements are because people start going part 1, part 2. Just give me the damn measurements. So this is just regular milk I grabbed from Whole Foods. It's whole milk. You could use skim milk. You could use any kind of milk. I would say definitely stay away from the fake milks out there like almond milk. Have you ever seen nipples on an almond? No. So you want to make sure you actually get actual cow milk because what you want is the protein that's from it. So we're using 1 cup of milk. Okay. Now I like do things by batches, so 1 cup of milk barely took any out of there. So I know if I got to repeat this batch over and over and over again or make a bigger batch, I know that a gallon of milk will go a long way. So 1 cup of milk. Now what you need is 2 cups of water. cups of water. Cloudy water, thanks to the residue in here. So I can get rid of this guy. Now the next ingredient you're going to need is you're going to need cinnamon. Now I picked up cinnamon over at Whole Foods as well because that's where I buy all my crap from. And it's a nice big container. It's a 8-ounce container of cinnamon. So it was like $7. So you're going to need 2 teaspoons worth. Okay. Not sure what the cinnamon does, but I saw somebody's ingredient. They talked about it. They've been doing it for years. It works, so figured, hell, why not? And the next thing you're going to need, you don't need it, but another one I saw, they talked about using lemons. And they said you want to use real lemons. Now, being it's coming in a bag, everybody might kind of question that whole idea. But they said that the lemons you want to use are lemons that are, the juice from a lemon is from an actual lemon versus the ones that come in a jar. It's just because I guess the ones in the jars are more pasteurized and you don't want it pasteurized, I'm guessing. That's the only thing I can really guess. So I'm just going to take these and cut them up so they're a little bit more finer. And I stick them in my blender. And yes, I'm leaving the rinds on them because you got to filter this anyway. So try not to splash yourself with the cinnamon milk water. Now I'm doing 3 lemons because I feel like 3 lemons by the time it renders down is probably a decent amount of juice. And the lemons that I was seeing on somebody they were talking about was the citrus that's in the lemons is what also helps with the removing of the fungus. Now they didn't say anything about wiping it off. They literally said that they sprayed it on and they left it on. They sprayed on the top of the leaves, the bottom of the leaves. They sprayed it on the stems of the plant. And doing so in 24 hours, the little powdery crap was gone. So that is what I'm actually looking forward to, actually hoping does happen. Okay. My milk in the fridge. Over there. My lemons can stay out. You don't want to put your lemons in the fridge. You also don't want to make sure that your lemons don't get too close to your tomatoes. I'm not 100% sure if it's a bad thing or not, but I know certain produce when they're next to each other causes things to rot and get funky. So you always want to find someplace else in your kitchen where you can hang bags of your produce where they're away from each other. I think it was like onions and potatoes you don't want near each other, or maybe it was lemon and potatoes. Forgot which way it went, but I had them near each other one time and things like rotted like almost instantaneously. Alright, so it's on, it's locked, it's going on the blender. Now we're gonna render that down into a puree base basically. Turn her on. We're gonna go down to chop. Which is good. And we're going to make it into a smoothie. Well, that's going. I'm going to wait over here for that. So now that we have that all nice and blended down, as you can see, the lemons that went in there whole, even though they're sliced up, it's still nice and liquidy. So I'm going to take this, and you're going to need think it's like 1 to 2 hours for it to sit. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna let it sit. I'm not really worried about putting it back in the fridge, so I'm just gonna let it sit out. Nothing ever said anything about it sitting out. There was a reason for the black glove. I'm gonna show you guys that now, and the reason why I'm wearing the black glove is because you want to be wearing gloves when you actually try to nip this in the butt before you end up going down the road of using milk and lemons and water and cinnamon to eradicate your issues. So basically, because you don't want to add it into any of your other soils out there as it is, you want to wear gloves whenever you're dealing with it, because the spread of this stuff will be bad. That also talks about any tools that you're using or anything else. And if you come down here, you could see as I touch with my hand, this is what I'm talking about. And if I rub it, you could see how it comes right off of that and it's getting on my gloves. You can see it right here. See that white powdery? You can kind of see it's a little bit more on some leaves than others. You can see it really well there. The problem that this stuff does is that, for starters, your leaf will start off green like normal, and it'll get spotted, then it gets more spotted, and then it starts to turn yellow, and then eventually it dies and falls off. And that is the last thing that we want when we're trying to grow our crops, is to have basically stuff being killed by a fungus. And as you could tell, it has slowly started to migrate over there, which I'm not surprised, because it's all unfortunately downwind or in the wind zone. Now some of them have it, some of them don't. You could see like on the back end of here. Now the problem is with this glove, now my glove is contaminated, so I got to be careful how I take this off and wash my hands. If you are doing it with bare hands, you want to make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly. Anything you touch, anything that powder even touches, you want to make sure that you get rid of it very carefully. Grabbing the bottom of it, making sure the collar didn't touch me, that's the best way as well. But I'm still going to wash my hands. If I was to get it on my clothes, I would definitely want to get my clothes off, throw them in the wash, take a shower, and make sure that the spread of this doesn't go any further, because you can actually even get it on your tools when you go to cut stuff. And if that happens, I'm looking at stuff while I'm walking around. If that happens as well, that spread is going to spread everywhere. So if I was to trim something over there and this area wasn't touched yet, and then I came over here and everybody else got it, then we're going to have a problem. And it's just going to spread. And because it kills the leaves is what's, you know, for the plant's growth. So that's a big issue. So anyway, guys, that's Mike's current tip of fungal removal on your cucumbers, zucchini, squashes, anything that's got like those big leaves on them is what you want to kind of use that stuff on. Now, like I said, we're going to find out if this works or not. So if you guys are watching this video, then you're going to know it worked. So I ain't posting it if it ain't working. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.